We're now ready for a session which we are calling Niti Aayog Perspective, for the obvious reason that we're going to be interacting with Mr. Sudhendu J Sinha, who is Advisor Infrastructure, Connectivity, Transport and Electric Mobility at Niti Aayog. He has over 2.5 decades of experience, mostly within Indian Railways, with dealing with operations, planning, coordination and management, and of course also policy making over there, as well as in his current position. His performance has been recognized and awarded twice at the national level. First with the National Award for Outstanding Service from Ministry of Railways, 2006, and then with the National Award for E-Governance in 1920 for excellence in providing citizen-centric delivery. He's also served as Dean of Indian Railway Institute of Transport Management, Lucknow, and as General Manager Web Applications at the Center for Railways Information Systems, where we first interacted with him many years ago. He is a alumnus of St. Stephen's College, Delhi, with a degree in history. Mr. Sinha, are we ready for your remarks, sir?
Yes. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sir, we're ready. I understand we're going to begin with your remarks, and then there'll be questions that we'll have, as well as the audience. I'll also request the audience, if you can please put in questions. You don't have to wait for end of remarks. You can send in the questions, but put them in Q&A if you can, and comments in chat, please. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to the entire team for this, for inviting me on this particular dialogue and panel discussion. So naturally, electric mobility has become one of the most significant things for the country, and it is one of the biggest disruption in the field of, in the area of mobility that we are witnessing. And if I might say, then probably this is going to be a kind of logical corollary to the mobility process that is going on. Because once, I mean, if you see the stages that we have moved on, I will not get into details of explaining them. A stage comes when you are able to achieve mobility, but at the same time, it is going to impinge on so many other good things of life. For example, the environment, for example, air quality, for example, orchestrated mobility, for example, health, for example, expenditure and economy for the country. So naturally, it becomes obvious that one has to go in for the electric mobility. Now, after that, we have got, we went in for a international summit, what we call the MOVE Summit, that was a global mobility summit, which was, of course, Prime Minister himself was present there, and he kind of laid down the broad contours of mobility, how the future mobility is going to be. And there he talked about clean mobility, charged, and the cutting edge technology, and how it should be congestion free. Those things he did come out with. Subsequent to that, there was I'm just giving a little bit of perspective so that we know that how exactly this journey of mobility has been in the country and where to move on forward, and of course with a special reference to the charging infrastructure, because that is, of course, that is something attached, something adjunct to the mobility solution. So after a time span of 6 months, that was in September 2018, they had this meeting, and in 2019, they created the national mission, and they housed it in Niti Aayog. And they had this interministerial steering committee to take the electric mobility forward. So the mission started working, and we, of course, Advisor Transport was made the mission director, and it was being taken forward with a set of stakeholders, lot of inputs from the stakeholders, lot of input from the think tanks, and of course, directly in cooperation with different ministries. So that was one stage. But at that time also, the initiative for electric mobility was going in the name of what we called FAME version 1. So that was going on. So that was in the period what we call 2015, 2019, that period was there. After that, we had the second version of FAME 2. So we started in 2019, and it had its validity up to 2022. So, but then our observation was that the things were not moving the way we wanted them to. So, whatever targets we had fixed for supporting, we were not able to achieve those targets. Rather, the performance was absolutely dismal, in the sense that when we evaluated ourselves, say in last April, only 3 months back, then we could see that we were close to only 3.5% of the target. So 3.5% achievement is not. That was practically, we could understand that there is something innately wrong in the entire structure of our approach that needs to be set right. And that, of course, with a lot of thinking through, we decided that it's time that we re-strategize our entire EV approach. So the FAME, which is the flagship scheme, this scheme was re-strategized, and we decided that for the two-wheelers, for three-wheelers, for buses, we should go in for different segments, require different kind of interventions. It can't be one size fit all. So for the two-wheelers, we decided that it's time that we go in for higher incentives. The incentives were raised. That was the second thing. That was the first thing. And for the three-wheelers, we thought that there is no need for increasing the incentive. It's time that we go in for aggregation of demands. So instead of a sporadic retail kind of giving orders to these 4 or 5 principal OEMs of the country, it's time that we give them bulk orders. For buses, we thought that instead of thin spread of resources all over the country, it's time that we focus it, identify select number of cities, going for a major kind of intervention, and literally swap them with the buses, whatever the requirement is, but they be the electric buses. That was the kind of understanding. And of course, let's see the results. In case of two-wheelers, the traction is phenomenal. So when on 11th of June, we came out with this re-strategized scheme. Now we see that in a time span of last, say, 2 months, from 3.5 level, we have come to 8+ level percentage there. Now, apparently, I won't say that it is a satisfactory percentage, but yes, the jump from 3.5 to 8 in a time span of 2 months, that is something phenomenal, because 3.5 was the achievement of 24 months. And in 2 months, you jump it all across to close to 8+%. So that is with two-wheelers. In three-wheelers, very recently, I think last week only, last Friday itself, the RFP has been floated by CESL, which is one of the subsidiaries of Ministry of Power, for 1 lakh three-wheelers in one go. They will be basically procuring 3 lakh three-wheelers. So with 1 lakh order coming, bulk order, sure order that is coming to these OEMs, that means that the entire supply chain, the entire production process is going to take a different shape, and it will become absolutely robust. For the buses, yes, we identified that we'll go in for only 4 million plus population cities. So that means that only, say, these principal, our metropolitan cities, plus of course Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Surat, Ahmedabad. So that makes 9 of them. So these are the 9 cities that we identified that we should be going in for. And then till now, of course, what I am getting the feedback is that it's a very positive feedback we are getting, and they are likely to put in their demand. They're likely to put in a kind of order for 4,000 buses, additional buses, electric buses. Now that will give a lot of traction to those who are into the bus stream. So for the two-wheelers, for three-wheelers, for buses, different interventions, re-strategizing ourselves. This has paved a big, big way. And of course, not to miss the sight that every day we see that electric mobility is somewhere from on a place of prominence in our newspaper. Every day we find. So either you see that some of the OEM owners, some CEO, some chairperson is making a statement that how they are going in a big way to handle the two-wheelers. And then you have got new entrants like Ola into the stream who say that we are going in for a kind of close to 1 crore unit production sale kind of that they are looking in for annually. So that is it brings a lot of traction is there. The best part is that it is no longer a national agenda. It has gone further and it has traveled to the states, and the states are taking EV policy very, very seriously. Of course, we are encouraging them, we are nudging some of them who are not yet firm on the policy front, but yes, as many as 25 states and union territories combined together, either they have notified or it is in the final draft stage, their EV policy is there. Now, once a state makes a policy, the direct implication is that they have made a commitment to a particular kind of mobility, to a change in the existing mobility pattern. So that is what the principal commitment comes. The second thing is that for all these states, it is absolutely aspirational. States are looking at it that the gap between the policy should no longer be there. It is not that a particular state is moving on a faster policy front. And of course, by policy, I do mean incentives and so many availability of making available trunk and allied infrastructure to those who want to set up units there. So that is there. So states are very aspirational. They are able to identify the gaps. They are able to pull themselves up to that level. And that is why we are now gradually thinking that we must have a kind of policy EV electric mobility index, so that we are able to put these states, rank them on an index. The idea is not to find fault. The idea is that those who are trailers, who are lagging behind, just to encourage them, just to guide them, just to kind of support them so that they move on, they move forward. So that is one area. Now, in this stream also, one major thing came, that was the advanced chemistry cell. So PLI, national PLI scheme is there. It has already been notified, gazette notification is there. We are working on it, and we do expect that by the end of this year or beginning of next year, we should be able to identify that who will be the principal manufacturers for the first time, of course, because this is a sunrise area. So who will be the manufacturers of advanced chemistry cells on a giga scale in the country? Now, once that thing comes, you will see for yourself that this will be a major, major change. Change will be that the cost will come down. Otherwise, also in two-wheeler stream, in many of the states, at least 2-3 states, if I say not many, but the cost of electric vehicle is less than that of the ICE counterpart. But yes, that is because of the incentives of FAME, incentives given by the state government, and that has brought down the upfront cost. So we are quite alive to the issues, to the anxieties that are in the minds of the consumers and how to handle them. One of the principal anxiety is EV charging infrastructure. Yes, and let me tell you that we are very seriously working on it. The The simple direction is that we want to make this charging infrastructure a mass movement in the country. The availability should be a mass movement in the country. I'm aware that what challenges are there, how to counter them. Of course, one has to think through. Different financial models has to be worked out, because you do not expect government only to be setting up this infrastructure, because yes, but for the maybe as an early bird for the initial call, that one does think of. And let me tell you that today also it's a very historic day, because the handbook of electric vehicle charging infrastructure implementation has been released today. Just barely 30 minutes back, we have concluded the ceremony of releasing this handbook. This handbook, in a way, of course, it is a version 1. We will keep on improving upon it as we get along. But this gives comprehensive details that how exactly to go about it. And it is a kind of, I would say, a lighthouse or a guide map for the local authorities who have to be a very principal player in the setting of charging infrastructure. And then, yes, we are quite aware, because once you go to the parliament, once you meet our political masters, they are also keen on knowing that this charging infrastructure, how to densely proliferate them so that this anxiety factor is taken care of. That is going to be one of the principal challenges, and we are quite keen that we are able to solve it forward. We know that who are the stakeholders into it. We know that with whom we have to collaborate. Now the only thing is that it has to be made into a mass movement. And instead of station, we have to graduate ourselves to charging points. So especially for the 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, for 4-wheelers, yes. And well, alternate models of charging instead of direct charging when going for battery swapping, and alternate models, they have to be also thought and weighed and then decided to be taken forward. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.